Hi, happy Monday, everyone. This is Warren Hoskinson, and I'm Ginger Browning. We are the current and outgoing chair and co-chair of the New Braunfels Canyon Lake Government Affairs Committee. We're here today to talk to you about some proposed amendments for the ballot. As you may or may not know, today is the first day of early voting, and that'll go through November 1st. Today, we're here to talk to you about some proposed amendments that Texas Association of Realtors is supporting, and then one that's a little tricky. So Warren, why don't you tell us about the ones that Texas Association of Realtors is supporting?
Well, thanks, Ginger. So first off, I think it's very important that we go ahead and say what Texas Realtors supports is based off of the facts that, one, it has to promote home ownership, it has to protect real property rights, and it has to raise political awareness. So jumping off into that, we'll start with Amendment 2. Ginger, would you like to go ahead and read that one for us?
So yeah, Amendment number 2, the constitutional amendment providing for the issuance of additional general obligation bonds by the Texas Water Development Board in an amount not to exceed $200 million to provide financial assistance for the development of certain projects in economically distressed areas.
So the pros on this particular amendment are, without this additional funding, the ability of the board to continue funding existing projects and support future projects for communities that could not otherwise afford secure access to safe water will be jeopardized. The high cost associated with the maintaining and expanding water infrastructure in Texas are best financed through the issuance of bonds, as this will allow for greater and more reliable long-term funding.
So, Amendment number 3 is the constitutional amendment authorizing the legislature to provide for a temporary exemption from ad valorem taxation of a portion of the appraised value of certain property damaged by a disaster.
So the pros of this particular proposed amendment are providing a temporary tax exemption for property damaged by disasters is a cheaper, simpler, and more easy administratable method to providing property tax relief to those suffering the effects of a disaster than the current method of appraisal.
Okay, the last amendment that Texas Association of Realtors is supporting on the ballot is Amendment number 8. The constitutional amendment providing for the creation of the Flood Infrastructure Fund to assist in the financing of drainage, flood mitigation, and flood control projects.
The pros about this particular amendment or proposed amendment are significant funding for flood control and mitigation projects is necessary to ensure that the state is able to prepare for and recover from natural disasters like Hurricane Harvey. Creating the Flood Infrastructure Fund outside the General Revenue Fund will better protect the money needed for flood projects from being redirected to other purposes.
The last amendment that we would like to discuss is a tricky one. Amendment number 4 has some tricky wording that we're going to kind of go over the pros and cons. That way you're aware of how to vote. It reads, the constitutional amendment prohibiting the imposition of an individual income tax, including a tax on an individual's share of partnership and unincorporated association income.
Many voters believe that the Texas Constitution already prohibits personal income tax, but the Constitution only imposes certain restrictions, including voter approval on any potential personal income tax. HJR 38 would provide a clear prohibition. The absence of a state personal income tax is part of the business-friendly climate that attracts people and businesses to Texas and is a contributing factor to the state's recent economic success.
Some of the cons of this amendment would be constitutionally prohibiting a state personal income tax unnecessarily block a future revenue option that is less regressive than current taxes. Revenue from a personal income tax could be used to help alleviate the state's property tax and school finance problems and could reduce the tax burden on Texas businesses. Now, the trick here is if you want to stop the income tax, How would you vote?
If you're opposed to having a state income tax, you vote yes on this proposition. If you are for a state income tax, you would vote no. We hope you enjoyed this video and hope it brought some education to this voting process that we're fixing to come up upon. And if you'd like more information about other amendments that are upcoming on the ballot, please look for other videos from our Four Rivers Association of Realtors Governmental Affairs chairs in the coming week.
Thanks, and get out to vote.